On this episode of ResiWeek, CEDIA welcomes Launchpad back, AV Pro Edge saved my marriage, and home theater hurts home values. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 340, Creative or Artistic. Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matty Scott for AVNation.tv. And this week we are pleased to be joined by my good friend, Mr. Ian Bryant. He is a professional technologist. How you doing, Ian?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing absolutely fantastic. We are having a litany of tech issues today, but we will make it work. Let's kick this off, Ian. And Joseph was supposed to be with us today, and he bailed on us because that's the way he is. So if you're listening, Joe, yeah, we know you bailed. Let's kick this off with a story that comes to us from CE Pro. CEDIA Expo welcomes back the Launchpad and the TechStarter competition. Essentially, this area of the show floor is dedicated to brands that have been in business for less than 3 years, and there's a whole kind of competition, I don't even know how to phrase it. Maybe you can help me out with this, Ian. They highlight essentially the brand that has maybe the most promise. That might be a good way to put it. And they get a cash prize with that as well. Talk to me for a second, Ian, because obviously you've been involved in Expo and in CEDIA as well, as a longtime employee there in the past. What does it mean to see Launchpad back, and what does it mean for the companies that exhibit through Launchpad?
Yeah, I think it's a really great program. Anyone that's been to CES, that's seen Eureka Park, and that's kind of the what they're going for is to get these new tech startup companies that are trying to break into the CI channel a chance to get in front of the integrators in the industry and show what they've got and show how important their product or service is. I can't openly say how expensive what the price is, but I know that Emerald's got a really, really good. You can easily contact Emerald Expositions if you're interested, but it's a really good deal for a startup as far as a low cost to get you a 10x10 and to get in front of a group. Last year, they had some industry veterans go around and interview and talk to each one for the judging process, and then that's kind of how they decided who the winner was going to be for the program. And I think it was somewhere like a $5,000 check to the winner, which covers a lot, and it's great. You get to see companies that you haven't heard of with possible new solutions that could be a fit for a small business. So it's exciting to see it back, and from what I saw last time, it's going to be a packed area, so it's definitely going to be exciting.
I think it's one of those things where having a 10x10 or a 5x10 or something just kind of scattered along the back row is a challenge, because a lot of us, when we walk the show floor, we don't see everything as much as we try to. Having it all grouped together gives you that destination, right? That reason to run out there. And, I know Aura's on here, Airthing's on here. There's a couple other companies on here that I've heard of and I've seen a little bit before. It is important for us as a channel to have a spot where we can go out and see these things. How much time should integrators designate to going and checking these things out? Because it's really easy to get caught up in your regular manufacturers and suppliers.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, last year they had it near the smart stage, which was kind of nice. So, you're not, it's not back in the back hall, really. You're near some of the hustle and bustle of the show. I'd say, give it a good hour or hour and a half just to walk. And even if you walk by someone's, table and doesn't look appealing or you're not sure what it is, at least, walk up, talk to them. Hey, what's going on? What do you guys got here? What are you bringing to show the industry, and give them a chance to kind of give them a little pitch and let them tell you what they're doing. And I'd say an hour or so. And I think right now there's somewhere around like 20 or so, 15 to 20 brands that are going to be there. So you spend a good 5 to 10 minutes with each one to work out.
Yeah, that's a really good point. All right, let's change topics for a second. This comes to us from Residential Tech Today and a good friend of the show, Mr. Henry Clifford. And part of the reason we're including this is strictly just because of the title. It's fantastic. An AV Pro Edge Extension 40 kit may have saved his marriage. Read through the article for maybe three reasons. The first reason, Henry doesn't really do product reviews. So it's very comical in the sense of the manner in which Henry normally writes. He applied that to somewhat of a product review. Secondly, he raises a couple of really good points that I want to ask you about in here, Ian. Very long and short, they had a TV in their family room. It kept glitching out on the HDMI because the extender or the balun he was previously using was being flaky. And as we all know, you can't have a flaky audio system because your family will continually remind you that, hey, don't you work in this space? Why doesn't it work? As I hear from my wife every time we have an issue with our Wi-Fi. He called one of his reps, and they recommended an AV Pro Edge kit, which he put in, and it instantly solved all the problems and made everything work. And again, he mentions, and I think this is part of the key aspect of this that I want to dig into for a second, that the kit retails for about $1,000, which seems like a lot when you're talking about, essentially a glorified, in the simplest terms, HDMI cable to plug something in so it would work. But we've all been there, and no word of a lie, I was in this issue this morning on site where we had an Xbox in a room that all of a sudden is throwing little pixel blobs on the display. And it's like, it's not an AV Pro Edge. It will be as of later this week, but right now it was not. And it caused a lot of issues. Are we at a point, Ian, where, because when you start talking balance and a solution to solve this problem for Henry, there is a variety of solutions that all quote unquote say they will solve this problem. From a $50 kit on Amazon to a white labeled product at your local distributor to a big branded product from another manufacturer to an AV Pro Edge to something beyond that costs even more than this product. Are we at the point in the channel, in the industry, where you just can't go with a cheap product? You have to go with a verified solution that is going to work, even if it's in a case like this where you've got a TV on a wall, you got 70 feet of network cable that you need to pass something over, and instead of buying the $150 thing from your distributor, you've got to just go with the expensive solution that is going to work.
Yeah. No, yeah, I absolutely. When I read this, my first thought was, investment well spent. And also it goes to show you that there are so many small little pieces and parts that make up even a basic system that can cause gremlins or cause failures in the system. And when you're talking about, 4K with HDR or all of the different audio surround codecs like Dolby Atmos, you're putting a lot of data and down these cables, and if you don't have the proper parts, the best way I could explain it is getting a high performance race car automobile from the factory with a $5 fuel pump, and you wonder why, or cheap injectors, and why this thing just runs like crap, and the next thing you change those out with high performance products, and it runs the way it's supposed to. It's very similar to these systems. We're not, especially when you've got something where you've got multiple sources running distances. I think he was running around 75 feet which
Yeah.
when you're talking, when you're talking about, the really high def video and different audio solutions, it's, that's a lot of data to be pushing down one of those cables. So if you don't, a lot of bandwidth needed. So if you don't have that product, and I've used AV Pro Edge stuff, and their stuff just works. And I thought that it was a great article that kind of, it made everyone kind of, I hope everyone that read it thought, well, maybe, I shouldn't be skimping on some of these small parts and pieces, because as an integrator, if that was to happen to an integrator, you could be rolling a truck out multiple times, troubleshooting it, and then next thing you know, your profit margin's gone just because of a product that you were trying to save some money on. So I think it's a lesson learned for all of us.
And I think the thing that you always have to think about is, if that product fails, whatever it is, it doesn't matter if it's an extender or something else. If you don't have confidence in what you're putting in, that it's going to work long term, yeah, you will have that truck roll. But at some point, you're going to end up either biting the bullet and putting in the better solution that's going to work, and you may or may not be able to charge that back to a customer. Right? Yeah, all too often, we've been stuck having to do a service call and then putting something in out of our own pocket because they already paid you to be the expert and you only kind of were.
Right. Yeah, I think that is a perfect example of a situation where, saying, look, when it comes to certain parts of a system, we as the integrator are not going to put in a lesser quality product. That's just, putting your foot down, explaining to the customer why it's important and what could happen down the road. Most of the time they're going to understand. But I think, it was definitely a good moment. I think everyone in this industry has had a product in a system or multiple products in a system where they've had this exact thing happen, whether it be video or data or anything else. And it's like, we can do better.
Yep, very much so. All right, let's change topics again. This comes to us from Residential Systems and another good friend of the show, Katie McGregor Bennett. Are you all in to win? Going all in with the design build community means making them feel welcome with your words, your website, and your work. Katie has been a huge promoter of this, and she highlights kind of three main keys to continue to build that relationship with architects, designers, and builders and specifiers, etc. by, number one, doing it with your words, number two, doing it with your website, and last but not least, doing it with your work. Ian, I love this conversation, and I do think that we need to continue to have this conversation, but I would be remiss if I don't at least acknowledge that there are market segments where this is less important than others. And I feel that all too often this is and again, this is no disrespect to Katie at all, or anyone else who pushes this conversation, but you do have to look at your industry and you do have to look at your business to know how this affects you, and how much time you want to put into this. That being said, when you look at this, when you look at doing a lot of additional work to try and continue to grow a relationship with builders, with architects, with designers, etc., what's the percentage of time that you use to go after that market, opposed to, or in addition to, all the other promotional work that you're doing and the lead generation type work that you're doing? Because at the end of the day, if you're working for a builder and you're working just with them on a home they're building, they're your client. But if you're working with a builder in conjunction with the homeowner, that sometimes is a different relationship. And there's a lot of ins and outs of this. What's the type of time that you should be looking at investing into these things if they hit your market segment?
It's a hard question to answer, only because, as you mentioned, it's completely different for each business. Not every business wants or needs the ability to have relationships with the builders outside of the relationships that they have with the homeowners, like you were saying. A lot of integrators will just work with a homeowner. They work through the homeowner with the builder on that project. Once that project's over, they may work with that builder again on another job. But it's a hard balance. What you find though is if you start to develop these relationships with these builders directly outside of working with them with a homeowner and helping to educate them on the different technology that they can be putting in on some of their homes that are prefab or that are that don't have current homeowners, that they're building a community, you start to build a relationship with someone that is going to refer you business and is always going to be giving you business. And if that's the way that you want to generate, you want to continue to generate revenue with your integration company, then it makes a lot of sense. But there can be a lot of time invested in that. CEDIA has a COI training program that's really, really great. And there's a lot of, once you go through the program, there are a lot of integrators that they'll do occasional meetups to talk about their experience. And a lot of them will say, I've had to meet with a builder 3, 4, 5 times and do some special training classes before they finally said, okay, we're going to start, putting in a baseline tech package on our homes, or we're going to bring you in every single time to the conversation, even if the homeowner isn't aware of what they want yet. It takes a lot of time, and so really that investment is up to the integrator and how they want to do it, and if they can afford that time. A lot of these smaller companies, 3 to 5 person companies, may not have the amount of time to go meet with the designers and builders on a regular basis and talk to them and present things to them. But as you grow, I think it's a really great opportunity to develop relationships that are going to, your homeowner, a happy homeowner is going to tell all of their friends about all the great things that you did and how much they love the system, and you get a really great word of mouth there. But a builder that you developed a relationship with and have an understanding with on what products they need to be putting in on all of their homes can start being lead generation and really lining up projects for you. But again, it's really, like you're saying, it's really dependent on the business plan. I know plenty of integrators that do just fine and have no problem just doing the word of mouth from the consumer. And then there's a lot that I know that really, really love the relationships that they've developed with high-end custom home builders, because they know that even if the customer doesn't know who they are, the builder is going to recommend them to the customer that and say, this is the integrator you need to use. This is who we use on all of our projects, and they'll get the meeting set up. And so you now have an advocate always out there talking for you and about you to other customers that you may not have known were going to be calling.
Yeah, I think that's huge. All right, let's change topics yet again. This comes to us from CE Pro, and I threw this one in last minute because it just made me smile. Yahoo Finance says that home theaters hurt your home value. They're cited as the third worst amenity that negatively can affect your home's value. Now, this hit all of the kind of Facebook groups I'm in. On the weekend when it was released by Yahoo. It hit a bunch of stuff on Twitter, and jokes about the validity of Yahoo as a leading news org we'll excuse those. This is a very interesting topic, and it's a very interesting article because there's a lot of truth in this. As much as it kind of pains me as an industry person to say that, there is a ton of truth in this, and at the same time, there's a lot of concern or confusion that causes this to happen. And I'd love to hear your opinion on this, because there are, we've both seen them. There are a ton of theaters, quote unquote, that I've walked into and went, you don't want this picture in your listing. Take this picture out and just talk about the fact it has some technology in the home, but get rid of the picture because it's going to hurt. And then there's ones where I walk through or I see and go, yeah, you should highlight this a little bit more. This home's awesome.
Yeah.
Where do you sit on this?
Well, I saw so many different posts hit all over social media when this landed, and one of the ones that I thought was funny I can't remember who said it, but I know it was someone that I know. I just forget who it was. Said, you never heard someone say when they are taking a tour of a home, or you hear them say a lot like, "Oh, great, there's a pool. We gotta, take care of the pool, and you gotta upkeep the pool, and it's the chores and maintenance and everything." But you never heard someone say, "Oh, a home theater. What am I gonna do with this?" Like, there's this is a great thing, but there are downsides, right? Absolutely. So the way that I perceived it is, if you were to go buy a home and that home theater was installed 10, 12 years ago, absolutely, it's someone that us that know the industry and that know technology know that, okay, well, it's 10-year-old tech. I'm going to need to redo the whole system's probably going to need to get redone. We need to check and see if the room was built with proper acoustics and if how it was constructed. And homeowners may not even know what to do in a situation if they were to buy a home and they've got a system that it maybe is a couple years old or a decade years old, and then it's an additional, if they want to update it, you're right, then they have to spend money to update it. But the fact is, you've got a dedicated space to have entertainment in the home, and it is an opportunity. A lot of homes that if you were to purchase that don't have a space, you've got to then find a space where you're going to watch your movies or do have entertainment with your family. And what I see, it's a double-edged sword, or two sides to a coin, whatever you want to analogy you want to use. It can be both good and bad. If you have outdated technology in a dedicated theater and you're buying the home, it's going to be a little bit bad because you're going to need to do some upfront investment. But at the same time, you already have a dedicated space ready to go. And that is a good thing for those that like movies and like music and want to be entertained in their home. So I think it could be looked at both ways. And those that, those... Go ahead. Sorry.
How much of this, though, also depends on your definition? Because that's the one that drives me mad personally. We went and looked at, we were working with a builder, and they were building a custom home, and they wanted a theater. And they told me up and down multiple times they want this big showstopper, to use their words completely. That when you walk downstairs, there's this lovely family room. You turn the corner, and boom, there's this huge theater. And I, being the typical integrator, my eyes got big. I got excited. I had a smile. I was like, yes. We walk through into that room, and it's like 10 by 10, and it has a 7.5 foot ceiling. And I go, okay, what did you want to spend in here, sir? To which he replied, well, like maybe 10 grand. And I went, okay, yeah, I don't care. And we moved on to the rest of the home where we actually were doing some stuff. That's part of the kicker for me. And just like everything else on this list of, they talk about the personalized kitchen. That really, like, there's an extreme there. You can have a personalized kitchen that is ridiculous and over the top, and then you can have a personalized kitchen that is highly functional and move-in ready. I think that's kind of the kicker with all this kind of stuff, is you can have a home theater that is a square room that has a projection screen painted on the wall, and that's not super useful. On the other extreme, you can have a Lord of the Rings themed room that was done really well, but it doesn't appeal to your 3-year-old kids of the homeowner who's buying the house. It is so much of this not just definition issues.
Definition or education. And that's why I think Yahoo doesn't, the Yahoo Finance who wrote the article is probably lacking a little bit on education around the space. Educating the client is a huge discussion point on the capabilities and the expectations of a room. CEDIA just did a session, a podcast around creative or artistic intent. And, the whole purpose of an integrator putting together a media room or an entertainment space or a dedicated theater is to make sure that intent by the director and the cinematographer and the score, whoever wrote the score, is kept intact at some level. And I think it's up to the integrator to educate the customer on proper expectations. But you're right, there are some limitations. A 10 by 10 room with a 7.5 foot ceiling is pretty limiting on what you can do, period, even with a lot of money. So it's a tough one. It's going to be a fight for us for the longest time, where people think you can get. I mean, it goes into a whole nother topic of I want to feel like I'm at the IMAX theater, but yet I only want to spend $5,000 or $10,000. Well, let's talk about what that experience includes, and let's talk about what realistic expectations are with realistic budgets. But I think what a lot of times, and making sure that the customer, and this is what's great about having showrooms, but not everyone has one, is making sure that they listen to what is really good and what is considered a higher quality cinema, so they understand what is involved in it, and what it feels like, and the emotions that it creates. Not everyone wants that. And so I think part of the discussion what Yahoo Finance was having is not everyone is interested in having a dedicated room. People are content watching movies on their iPad or on their 55-inch TV with just the speakers built in, and that's fine. But I think that there are a lot of people that are very passionate about films and about music. If they hear and see a really nice system, they will want one.
Yeah, I think that's true. All right, let's leave it there. Thank you so much, Ian, for joining us. If people want to connect with you, where can they do that?
Oh, man. You can contact, it's just change, right in the middle of a lot of changes right now. Personal email, ian.bryant@me.com, or you can find me on social media. Really, it's my main one's Man Dog Open Roads, which is my travel kind of blog, because I've been on the road for the past 2 years traveling around the United States. But feel free to reach out anytime. And it's been great. I love being on the show, so thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, thanks for coming back, man. It's always helpful when you have, coverage and stuff, because we've done a few from the middle of nowhere.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Thank you again. Thank you again for joining us. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter at Matt D. Scott and most other social platforms. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.